Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. How is everyone doing? Sterling, good morning. Before the news, Sterling also putting in Powell's prepared comments. I'll get questions in front of the later from Congress. But that's where we sit. He died. Powell thinks everything's hunky dory. Still rate cuts coming at some point this year. Sums it up from my book. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, John. Good morning, Mark. There we go. Tesla continues its slide. The futures are up. Good morning, Jacob. Hey, Options 22. Haven't seen you in a while. Good morning. Good morning, Anissa. All right. Well, more people are filtering in. Are we getting ready for, was that just a one-day pullback? We shall see. By the way, recorded Futures Ed podcast with Jim and Bob yesterday afternoon. So hopefully that will come out sooner or later. I don't have any control over it though. But stay tuned to this channel for watching it to get posted. All right, good morning, Eric. So what do we have today? We already had the ADP numbers come out, coming in. Bounce from the last time, but those, I don't know why people pay attention to those. We have Powell's first prepared remarks and then the testimonies. Also at 9 a.m. Central, we have Jolt's job openings and quits. People have been paying a fair amount of attention to those recently, so they can definitely shift any momentum. So I would pay attention to stuff at 9 Central. What else do we have? We have, of course, the Wednesday EIA numbers. Could be a percent B buy if we close above yesterday's high in crude to continue the trend, but it is against these cycles which are headed down at this point. We got daily speaking, we got Fed's beige book, and we got Kashkari speaking this afternoon. So that's where we sit. Pretty green day, opposite of yesterday. Chips, again, NVIDIA. Everything's piling into NVIDIA. We definitely talk about that on the podcast. We got everything, though. Apple hitting some key levels yesterday. So any bounce in Apple, I'd be watching for rollover plays. Yes, there could be percent B buys, but they will have to be managed very tightly. Meta still going up. The ones I'd pay attention to, again, Amazon, Meta, NVIDIA, Netflix. Those will be the ones I'd pay attention to most. Groups, what's in the sectors, we got pretty much everything positive today. Everything positive, technology and energy leading. Fed Watch tool, let me just do a quick refresh because we had Powell's prepared remarks come out. Where we sit, and we still have 1, 2, 3, 4 cuts. So even Powell thinks 3, we still got the markets thinking 4. Market's still in a little more dovish mode, right back to the cusp of greed versus extreme greed. So the market still, even with yesterday, there's not much fear in the market already. The VIX dropping back below one of the key levels. We had CrowdStrike, which did a beat, but that thing's getting another one that's getting bid up to, again, no EPS because they don't actually have earnings yet. Taking out the highs established before the pullback. So that is very interesting. Today, it's really nothing. Campbell's was a beat, but gapping down so far. I have to look into what they're saying about inflation and the consumer. Nothing really this afternoon. Nothing really. Tomorrow's bigger. Not just because you have Big Lots and Kroger, but tomorrow you got Costco and Broadcom. So that was the second most important day in DocuSign. That was the second most important day. All right. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Heinrich. Good morning, Royal Palms. So that's the NASDAQ. Let me get started on the S&P. So from the high on Monday to the low yesterday, we're between the 50 and the 62.5% harmonic. So guess what I'm watching for? At least a 1 hour close. Then I'd like to see it followed by the 4 hour close above 51.2225 to continue in bullish mode because that shifts the probabilities. We're into that possible area of resistance right now. So, especially going into the clear path move, I'm watching that 51.22 like a hawk if it continues to move up. And the first area I'd watch for a breakdown is roughly, you see this 50% level would start it, that back, if we start trading back below 5110, but really it's going to be back below 5100. 5100, and then we could watch for the failure in the bounce and the continued pullback. So those are the two key areas I'm really paying attention to. Going into the open on any pullback, it would be about 5108. So that is that. We've pulled back into the rotation zone and so far rotating back up. NASDAQ with the bigger pullback, but still the close within the rotation zone yesterday. The key area, the first key area on the NASDAQ is 18,105. And then the next key area is 18,173.25. So anywhere between those key levels, I'll be watching for the potential rollover play. A close, especially a 4-hour close in the NASDAQ above 18,173. Then it would be the next target, not necessarily for today, but the next target would be about the 75% harmonic, the 12.5% bigger pullback harmonic. So you have a cluster and you have yesterday's open right around this 18,250 area. So that would be the next bigger target if it were to continue with a 4-hour close above 18,173.25. The breakdown areas. The key area I'm watching, especially going into the open, is about 18,035. That is the key area. Then the following, if that is taken out, then the next key area is about 17,985, 17,980. So that's what we're watching for there. What else do we have? Hey, good morning, Legion Reaver. Hello, Charles. We're going to be ready for earlier mornings in AZ. Yes, I am. By the way, we got through lawyer review, so everything is still on target for the home sale in April. So everything's on target for the move. I will need to break out my shades to live in the desert. I lived in the in Scottsdale for 7 years before, so I'm pretty used to it. It'll be nice to go back. It'll be nice. All right, the Dow spiking below the 62.5 yesterday and bouncing right up here. If we flip this around, we'll just flip this around to see where the Dow needs to get above 39,019, 39,020. So that's a key area, but the 38,911 to 39,019 is where I'll be watching for a rollover play above 39,019. Then I'll be watching for a continued of the rally. Other than that, not much to talk about with the Dow. The Russell still trying to bounce back up. I mean, we're in rah-rah mode. We're still in rah-rah mode with the markets. There's some pretty significant resistance above 2078, but if we get above there, it's back to 2089 to 2097 is the key resistance. The VIX already closing just barely above that 1435, but already falling back down today. Already falling back down. So the key support's 1375. You start moving below 1375, not necessarily today, but over the next couple days, then it's probably continuing in rally mode. If we reverse, then I'm still watching that 1435 area on a closing basis. The DAX, little channeling pullback. So far, keep an eye. There's very significant resistance at 17,775. Take that out, 17,850 area, 17,903, so 17,900, and then 17,960. Again, the key support is pretty much yesterday's low. If that gets broken and taken out, especially on a closing basis, then it will probably be a multi-leg pullback down, deeper in the rotation zone. The notes still acting very dovish. Remember, the key invalidation point after only hitting the first target is 111.27, but anywhere between this 111.10 and 111.27, I'll be watching for a rollover play, especially with getting back to overbought. With cycles at a top, I think the market's getting very, very dovish again in terms of rates. In terms of the 10-year closing below the key level, the only thing I'll be keeping an eye on so far is if the, if I can click the right button, keeping an eye to see if this does trigger. If Powell says anything to sort of spook the markets. But the markets, after not even hitting the first target here, remember, the invalidation point is still technically, it needs to close back below 3.95, roughly. So it's a long way out from invalidating this pattern. The only little bullish thing is that little micro double bottom. That is it. The 10-2s, by the way, also has a potential double bottom. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on. Right there, the dollar index breaking down, but I'm going to still be watching 103.20 on a closing basis. Seeing if any of these things still reverse intraday. If not, then the key support next is coming in about 102.70. What's interesting is we're back to nearly oversold conditions and cycles getting back to the bottoming area. So without breaking the next key level. So, but still 102.20 on, or 103.20 on still the short-term basis. Here we go with crude. Remember, it's really important to watch those EIA numbers for crude traders because yesterday, its high is key on a follow-through closing basis. So it's trading right there now. If that sustains through the crude numbers, that would be, or through the EIA numbers, that would be a bounce. It hit the 80, 75, 74 area back on Friday, pulling back to the rotation zone, still stair-stepping higher. And gas prices still climbing. So this is definitely inflationary. We did talk about crude a whole bunch on the podcast recording yesterday. But the next key target is about 82.20. Natty Gas officially finishing the double. So that is done. Now, if you're playing for something higher, the next key major area is about 213 to 214. Getting very overbought though in cycles at the top. Remember, this is in a long-term key area, but this is now reconnected with the weekly rotation zone. So now I'd be watching, especially for another pullback after this bounce back up before possibly making a stronger base. Remember, the stronger base is going to be on the weekly. It already finished the reversal pattern on the daily. Now gold retesting the highs, not yet breaking out from the highs of Monday of December 23. The only thing I'll be watching here, we do have a little mini double top, potential double top, and that would just be a pullback, a slight pausing pullback. That is not one I'd be looking to aggressively short. That would be one if you're looking and to for a pullback move. That's definitely how I'd utilize those levels. It's overbought cycles at the top, so would not be surprised to see this is the first chip away at the December highs. We could pause here, get a little pullback, and then another run through. Silver, after almost hitting the second target, pausing right there. Cycles at the top, overbought, but nothing really to concern about with silver unless it really starts dropping about below 23.40 again. What is going on here? Hey, George, how you doing this morning? You're long. The next major target for crude, let me just do that. I mean, the first thing I'd use to raise a stop again. Well, here's exactly how I'm structuring crude today. I'm just keeping an eye on the shorter term to see not just above yesterday's high, but then if we also get above 79.60 on a closing basis, then it's really that 80.40 area, because that's really gets into the more solid double top area. But then again, this 80.40 to 80.72 is definitely an area to raise a stop on a rotation back up from my perspective. And then that next key area, continuing the channel to the upside, is that 82.20 area. So that's just a little quick revisit of that. Yen, Looking like it's going to start the bigger pullback too. Breaking down, remember, this was not a double anymore. Going to be keeping an eye right around 148.60 at this point. 148.60. Euro trying to break out. Did not get the close above 108.61, but looks like we could get there today. And the next target is back 109.20. Spiders. Here we go. Why did that shift? I already had that. Oh. Sometimes this doesn't save my stuff. 510.72. Watch for the starting with that is not only just yesterday's high area. It's a 62.5 harmonic between Monday's high and yesterday's low. So 510.72 on a 1 hour, and then is staying with a 4 hour close above that level. And then you have 511.88, which is nearly to the gap fill of 512.30. So 511.88 to 512.30 would be the next target area, and then 513.04. Going in the open, it's 508.50. 509.50. That's the first key level of support. All right, and then we have major support back at 508.35. Below that would be the gap fill. If we did turn around and start to sell off again, would be to 507.18. The Qs, the key level for watch for the close above 441.73. Right now, trading 440.20. There's going to be some minor resistance at yesterday's open, 440.94 area. The key thing going in the open is 440.20, roughly where we're trading now. We drop below that, then I'm back to about 438.50, then 436.90, and then the gap fill to 436.05. But really that 441.73 to sustain the bounce in the Qs. The good old Bitcoin, resistance eking out a new all-time high, resistance up here. Yes, this can still be viewed as a potential double top if it does get the close below 59 at 225 roughly. That's the only thing. Other than that, it would be watching for a sideways correction. Sideways correction to possibly break out again. And the next key levels, 75,675, and then you have 82,350 for all those Bitcoin fans. So, Tesla retesting the first target yesterday. Again, the 62.5 on Tesla. Just go off 175. A close below 175. Not only do we still have the double, that shifts the probabilities continuing lower. So Tesla's really, I mean, everybody's now piling into NVIDIA. 881. So look at the, I mean, just a massive gap up. If it takes out, really, it looks like it's going to take out the highs, 876.95. The next key area, I would not ignore 900s because of the option strikes, but then 917.40. And then above there, I mean, this thing's, I think, has got a magnet trying to shoot for 1,000. I really do. I think it won't stop gunning. No, it's not. That's just a thought of mine. I mean, you got to trade with the trend, but there's enough people gunning with options, especially for that 1,000. For that 1,000, we could see it before this thing peters out. So don't get shocked with that. By the way, I'll look at comments in a second. Apple hitting the 87.5 yesterday. Now, on any bounce, yes, there are gaps left behind, but that would be very nimble bounce plays. Yes, there's a potential %B buy and a close above yesterday's high, but remember, these are not long-term bottoms. They would be for a very aggressive bounce plays because Apple's really been taken to the woodshed, and we could see an even bigger pullback in Apple. So Apple's sort of out of the key things I'm watching. Still keeping an eye on, Meta, gap up today. Still watching that. That still is not broken key support. We have Amazon. Again, pullback yesterday, but, not broken key support. Microsoft is starting to, still not broken a very key level, but chipping away, starting more of a topping pattern. So this is starting to break down also. But you have Netflix, yes, it did pull back into the rotation zone, getting more of a topping area with waning momentum. But I'm still seeing if it can connect with that 633 area to complete the 87.5 rule. So that's where we stand. What else did I miss? Hey, Pep. The gold, I don't know if the gold rally is fragile. I mean, I talked about gold. I'll leave that for the podcast. You're welcome, Charles. Let's see. Okay, take it easy. Commodities are not for trading. They're actually really good for trading. You can trade forex, you can trade commodities, you can trade futures, you can trade a bunch of things. Analyzing the markets is analyzing the markets. Here's your list. George wanted ET. I didn't get the phone call. ET. Sorry for the bad ET joke there, but sometimes you gotta have a bad ET joke to start off a Wednesday. 1540 is the next key target. It's getting to cycle tops and everything else, but 1540 is the next key target, and then support back about 1475. Major support you don't really want to see a breakdown below on a closing basis is back around 14 in ET. JD on a weekly basis. I see. Oh, a double bottom and just gapping up after earnings. Yeah, that's a double bottom. Let's just make sure it qualifies with the bounce move. It looks like it does. So, yep. Targets 2639, 2720, 2812. And that right above that 2812, you have major resistance. Now, keep in mind, it's still against a weekly rotation zone, but at least this is coming down. But, it's really got to close on this week's basis above 2465 on a weekly basis, since it is a weekly pattern. What else? There's a trigger daily double top in MT. Yes, there is. There is, and it's also lost the 200. It's lost the 200, so that first target 2430, next target 2353, final target 2275. I would not ignore this key. That's a significant level, so I would not ignore that 2350 area. But any bounce would be for a potential rollover play, especially with the rotation zones. How am I liking the F1 season so far? Well, I liked the first race. I liked it. I mean, Verstappen ran away with it, followed by Perez. I mean, Red Bull, their car is strong, but it was good. It was good. I mean, the Ferraris, I was happy to see Ferrari take third just because he's losing his contract to Hamilton. So I want to see who picks him up. What about Square or Block or whatever it is? Block. What about Block? Not what about Bob? What about Block? Did that qualify? No, it did not. So you cannot use that. Again, just closing into that. I'd be watching for, after a miss, a beat on revenue, but a miss on EPS. I'd definitely be looking, with that close into the gap, I'd be looking for a rollover play for that potential gap fill. to find out that key support back there. You know, the key support level coming in about 67.70 to 68. Because this thing's got against some very key resistance up there, especially with a miss in EPS. That's what I'd be looking for there. You're welcome, Anissa. Does FXI weekly qualify as a double bottom? Does FXI weekly? No, not yet. This on this huge? Yeah, that's just a long way off from triggering. I'd be looking for something way before this. That's really a monthly. That is a monthly. But I'd watch for some kind of pullback and then see if it establishes a longer-term bottoming pattern here. It's still against the weekly rotation zone, so any pops, I'd still be watching for a pullback there. Hey, my man. Facebook and Instagram were down. Well, Meta and Facebook, the app, was down yesterday. But you know what? There's no stopping this thing in the short term. Let's take a look at. We need to at least see some. This is the secondary reaction off yesterday's selling. But where are we right now? Where are we right now going in? We're almost up to that 62.5 level with the open. So let's check on the tick. The tick on the 5-minute, but there you go. Very strong opening. Very strong opening. Wow. I mean, the last time you had that kind of opening was February 29th, the end of the month, and that is even a stronger opening than that. So on any pullback, I mean, I'd be watching for that key rotation back up and really taking out that 51.22.25. Again, 51.10 is the key pullback level. All right. I completely agree, George. That's why I want to see who picks him up. Could he go to Red Bull? Could Red Bull dump Perez and pick up Carlos? You know? All right, with that, we'll take a look. We can look back at block tomorrow. So, everyone, I got to jump into the open. Hope everyone has a wonderful day. And just pay attention at 9 a.m. still, 9 a.m. Central, so 30 minutes from now. Pay attention because, you got Powell's testimony starting, live testimony starting, and you have the JOLTS numbers. If there's going to be any little reversal, if this continues up into that time frame, just watch for that. With that, I shall talk to everyone later. Bye for now.